because they're brand new. But if we can go through an exercise of specifically what they're struggling with.
I think there's a few things that they're specifically struggling with. Number one, I'm going to give you 3 right now with this. Number one, it's not that they don't know what to do. There's too many things to do, and they don't have confidence in any of them. Number 2, they don't have the skill sets or the practical, simple how-tos to have any level of confidence doing it. So right there, they come into this cycle of disaster. I don't have a ton of confidence. Shit, I tried that once, that hurt, never doing that again because it doesn't work. And then they're in that cycle now. So that lead acquisition opportunity not only is no longer on their plate, it's scary. Fuck that. Tried that once. I hate it. Like there's a lot going on there. But then the third one is they don't understand the level of commitment that's required for a lot of these strategies to actually start producing results. So in other words, door knocking. I door knocked for 2 months, man. Like this sucks. I'm not doing it anymore. Well, an effective farming strategy, if that's what you were doing, could take 6 to 9 months before you get one client. But once you hit that momentum and then it starts to build on itself, it's one of the hardest marketing types to like lose momentum from because people have that connection with you.
Yeah.
So that's the last piece that people struggle with. They start to build momentum, but because they don't know the lead indicators, they just look for the lag. Close the deal. Does that make sense? So then they quit.
Stop it. And then they go do something else.
They go do something else and go through that same goddamn cycle. And before you know it, nothing works in real estate. You should door knock. I did it. It doesn't work. You should do open houses. I tried it. It didn't work. Does that make sense? And then what? I'm gonna buy leads. Jesus Christ, you don't even have any money, man. But then here's the problem, Cameron. Leads are like doors. That's the thing they don't get. So now I tried buying leads. It didn't work. All of it works.
Yep. To understand why they're not doing that is to then go into a diagnostic of like basically the root causes of what is affecting, what is delivering the outcome of zero business. What's delivering that? Of zero clients. And so, and you touched on a couple of them. And so you went to the root cause, which was them not knowing.
Yeah.
And so the expectation of generating business is off. And then you can even go deeper into that to where it's like, why did they expect getting into the business and then what's it called? Why did they expect getting into the business and then closing a deal in their second month? It just doesn't work like that. And so
I can speak to that on a pretty personal level too. The curriculum to get a license is all focused on the practitioner side of real estate. It has, so if you think of a sales funnel, the top of funnel is activities, right? Client acquisition, activities. Then from there, if you do activities, you get leads. So you get leads, you get appointments, you can get a client, blah, blah, blah. Everything in those books or that curriculum to get a license takes that first layer and fucking throws it away. Because they're not worried about if you're going to get business. They're going to license you assuming, hey, when you get business, you better know what the fuck you're doing with these people. So everything is almost lower, like the further down the funnel, the more intensity in terms of focus for you to get your license. And that's the problem. There's no awareness, understanding, or exposure to there's a top of this funnel.
Yeah, 100%.
So when they come into the business, they're like, sweet, we're going to do some escrows. I'm going to learn my contracts, disclosures. I need to know my disclosures. Like, no, man, you need to go get a fucking buyer.
Yep. Yeah. It's so crazy, Joseph, because that's every single business.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I was talking to a fitness owner, not to get too sidetracked because I want to
No,
stay on.
please.
This is like perfect. I was talking to a gym owner. He previously owned it, exited. Now he's in the trucking business. And I asked him, I was like, what's one of the biggest challenges you've seen trainers? Because that's what he did. He developed trainers. Their business model was very similar to real estate. And so I was like, what was the biggest challenge you've seen new trainers have? And he was like, well, he's like, they didn't consistently market themselves to bring in new business. And he's like, and when they got business, they got busy with servicing and they stopped the marketing.
Yep.
And so, yeah. And so I feel like it's the same thing for real estate agents to where, because I mean, the root cause is them not understanding because they're brand new. Everything they've been taught. So if you think about the information that they've been given, it's the so-called gurus online that are showing them, oh, I closed 17 deals my second month in real estate. Right. And here was the marketing strategy. Why? Like, this is how I did it. And so, which is, shame on them, but we can't change that. That's just in our ecosystem. And so they're not only getting information from there, but then the process of getting their license, speaking of a new agent, the process of getting their license, it's all about servicing the client.
Absolutely.
It's all about contracts. It's all about, just the 3 books that you have to do, and all the questions. It's like square foot, how many,
what's a township? How many square feet and blah, blah, blah. Who gives a shit?
And so there's no marketing, let alone business education for real estate agents getting into the industry. And so now what happens is they have zero recollection. They have zero knowledge of the business side. They know a little bit about, contracts and things of that nature. Their broker isn't putting that on them. The broker's just like, yeah, so, you got to get business. Here's a couple different ways, open houses. But they're not teaching them. They're not teaching them what's going on when it comes to open houses, like what's actually happening when you're doing an open house. They're not teaching the business side of that. And so, and then again, they're getting inundated with the calls from these lead generation companies and telling them, hey, are you looking for 20 appointments this month or whatever it is? All of those problems. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say one other side note to make sure you've landed on this too, because you kind of touched on it. Mm-hmm. All that guru shit, they don't recognize that they're being sold. Mm-hmm. They think they're internalizing information when they're being indoctrinated. Mm-hmm. Like you said, look at my strategy of how I did 17 deals. They're going to sell them something, but they don't fucking get that. Yeah. They buy like, sweet, you're going to teach me how to do this. It's like, man, maybe, but I got your money. And then they do that 4 and 5 times and now they're broke. It's so easy to spend your way out of this industry. That's for sure. Yeah. Now let's do this again. What's our next one? So that was problem 1, the client acquisition. What was our second problem that we identified?
Structure.
Okay.
And so, but hold on, because I want to finish like.
Oh, go for it. Yeah.
Go for it. So the business problem that they're having is lack of clients. That's the business problem that they have. The reason why, and see, this is why this is like it's such a huge topic, because so what we touched on was the knowledge side, and that's a root cause. That's a root cause. So them not knowing how to get business, that's a root cause of not having business.
Or that they didn't know it was an expectation they should have came with. Sure. Yeah. That is super foundational.
Yeah. And so there's a lot in between there that we can dive into. And one that I do want to dive into is door knocking, because it's such a fundamental example that it's.
Well, even before you get there, I'm glad that you've got before you even get there, Cameron, no one takes the time to help an agent figure out what do you like to do and what are you good at? What does your past already acclimate you towards in terms of an activity that should yield you results?
Mm-hmm.
They're just told, buy leads, go door knocking, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, wait a minute. And in my program, I will tell you in the beginning, I'm like, you're just going to do what the fuck I tell you to, because I want
Mm-hmm.
you to build endurance. It's not because these are the things you're always going to do for your business. It's because you need to experience what it really looks like to have success in these areas. And it means consistency and what we talked about already, right?
Yeah.
But then at the end of my program, the reason why the very last week is business planning, because now they can show up to a business plan and they can go, look, I door knock like a motherfucker, and yeah, it was fine, but I don't want to do that anymore. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
But at least you're coming from a place of experience.
Yeah.
So I think that that's another, you said, from not even knowing to actually what lead gen, there's a lot in
Mm-hmm.
between there. That's one of them. How do
Mm-hmm.
you help an agent understand with their past work history, skill sets they already developed, what their genuine interests are, how to line them up with lead generation or client acquisition strategies that are kind of a little more made for who they are already versus cold calling, as an example, from someone who's been a service person their whole life at a restaurant. And then and they're social, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to tell that person, you're going to sit in an office, lock the door, and just call people. They're going to get their asses kicked.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. I just wanted to throw that in there too.
And so like now specifically with door knocking, do you know, and we can look it up too on those Facebook groups, and we could talk to agents about this type of stuff. Um, with door knocking, since you teach it in your course,
Yep.
if you were to talk to me like an agent and you asked me, what are you doing for lead generation? And I was like, I'm door knocking, but it's not working.
Mm-hmm.
How would you diagnose that? How would you be like, well, prove it to me that it's not working?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Yep.
And so
Perfect.
like, can we, go down that line? Like go down. Yeah.
Do it. All right. So it's not working.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been door knocking?
So um, I've been door knocking for a month, and I do it on the weekends
Okay.
because I feel like that's when people are home, and that's when I go out and I door knock.
Awesome. And when you say it doesn't work, like define that. What does that even mean? Like for you, when you say it's not working, what's like what's the win? What is the objective of your door knock so that you can point to it and say, this is my metric of it not working?
Mm. So to be honest, I haven't even thought about that. Like, I'm just trying to get a transaction.
Okay,
Like
cool.
I
Perfect.
don't even, to be honest, I don't even know what to keep track of.
Okay. So and here's and I'm just going real life with you. So like there's
Mm-hmm.
kind of, so door knocking can kind of be a few different things, but we all roll it into what we call door knocking, for example. So let me ask you, when you're out there door knocking, what kind of messaging do you have? Like well, let me take one step back.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you door knocking and with what message?
Well, so I seen this video online of this guy saying that, like, when I first start out as an agent, I to just like literally start with my neighborhood, like I don't have to go far. And so start with my neighborhood and just let all my neighbors know that I'm a real estate agent. So like what I've been doing is I've been walking around and, like I said, like every single weekend, I go out in my neighborhood and I've been knocking, and I just had my business cards made. And so like what I do is for the people that answer the door, I just introduce myself and I just tell them like, hey, I'm your neighbor and I'm a real estate agent. If you ever need any help with, anything, then I'm here. And then I just give them a business card of mine.
Awesome. Okay. And is this like in a specific, it sounds like it's your neighborhood, so it's like a specific area. Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
So like a lot of times that could be considered what is called um farming.
Mm.
So and that's good. Farming is awesome. But let's talk about what would define a win when you're farming. So the reason why we call it farming is because we're not hunting, we're planting seeds. So understand, like, if you're looking for a deal like right now, if you were a hunter, like I need to eat today, you're going to want to go, I don't know, kill a squirrel, get a fish. What you're doing, though, is you're putting seeds in the ground and going, where the hell is my meat? Okay. Now, is putting seeds in the ground wrong or bad? Absolutely not. It's just you're doing something that's inconsistent with the result that you're looking for. But yeah, but I applaud that you're doing something, because just know you plant a bunch of seeds and that harvest comes, woo, that's going to be a good thing. But what we need to do is diversify what you're out there doing. And it sounds like you're fine with door knocking. Is that right? Okay, cool. Like, you're out there doing it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who won't even do that. So I applaud you for that. But what if we could make some tweaks to the door knocking type that you're doing so that we're actually looking for fish instead of just planting seeds? Cool.
So yeah, with everything you just said, so like I got three things from it. I got and this is going to be crazy because it's going to there's going to be more metrics, there's going to be more I would say like variables that come into this with the different marketing strategies out there to acquire business. But I got three things. So one of the problems is again, going back to the expectation, like I may have been doing the right like saying the right thing, knocking a certain amount of doors. I may be doing all that. It's just I'm expecting a deal this month because I told you, like, I've only been doing it a month.
Right.
And yeah. And so that's one. So I would say like the duration of executing the marketing tactic. That's one. That may be something that's off. Two, metrics. What are you keeping track of to know that you're winning? Like what are the I would go into like, yeah, lead metrics. Like how many doors are you actually knocking on? How many of your business cards are you handing out? How many conversations are you having out of those conversations? How many? And so like you're basically breaking that down. And then it's interesting because, and I think you understand all this stuff. If I were to tell you, so, and this is going to be interesting. I'm going to tell you right now. So like, let's say in a weekend, I do 50, knock on 50 doors. Let's say around 20 of them don't answer. So 20, I'm just doing the math. Sorry. So that leaves 30 left. 20 of them don't answer. 20 of them answer, but through the ring.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Okay.
And then 10 of them actually open the door. And so that means that, like, so hold on. So I'm going to go 20, no answer. And then I'm going to go, which is like actually very,
it's probably spot on.
It's so 30. So I'm going to say 30 conversations. Out of the conversations. Right. And so now out of the 30 conversations, when you're door knocking, and this is where you were saying like defining your wins, like, is it okay to have the expectation that I can find somebody that's like, yeah, I'm looking to sell? Like, can I lead to an appointment out of door knocking?
Absolutely. Not if you're farming, though. Not if you're farming.
Oh, not if you're farming.
Yeah. So let me give you an example.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because this is where I was going to get further down. All right. I mentioned you're planting seeds, but you also want to hunt and or fish. And you are comfortable with the door knocking as an activity. So a strategy, for example, is instead of just door knocking randomly in your community, is there a listing that recently closed in your community? And if so, this is where you can call the agent who closed it and just say, hey, congratulations. Just curious, like, I live around here. How many offers did you get on that house? Let's say they go, oh, we ended up with 4. Like, awesome, man. Hey, nice job. Then you go door knock around 50 around that house. And now the approach is, hey, Cameron Evans, EXP Realty. Hey, listen, we just sold, or the house down the street just closed. It was listed for this, ended up selling for this. But guess how many offers there were on that home? I don't know, 1, 2. There was 4. And the reason I'm here is because for the sake of those 3 other families that didn't get the house, that are standing in line really wanting to be in this community, I want to know who may be thinking about selling. Have you considered selling your home? No, I haven't. Awesome. And that's totally fine. And again, I'm out here really trying to support these 3 families who didn't get the home that they really, really wanted. Who do you know around here that maybe has thought about selling their property? Because I think I can line them up with a really hungry buyer.
Mm-hmm.
You do those 50 door knocks, then yes, you might be in a position where you go, yeah, I talked to someone who's thinking about selling in this winter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, shit. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm. And so, like, that's so perfect too, by the way, because then it got to the third thing that I was going to say, which was their messaging.
Yes.
And so their messaging, it could be a problem as well.
Oh,
it's like
totally.
you're knocking a good amount of doors. That means, 50 a weekend, you're doing 200, out of the 200. So if you have this, so 30%, 60. So if 60% of them are answering the door, that means you're having 120 conversations every single month by door knocking, which is amazing.
That is really good.
Yeah.
Now, Cameron, if I really want to make someone a rock star, and this is in my program, we're going to take those 50 door knocks and we're going to attach it to your open house. You're doing an open house on Saturday. Okay. You're going to go knock those 50 doors Thursday and Friday. Invite them to the open house. I've got this property selling. I think it's going to sell quick. We might even have multiple offers. So, man, number one, I want you to have a chance to come see it before the general public. I'm holding a private preview for you in the neighborhood. If you know anyone looking to buy, bring them, because I think this thing's going to fly.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, who around here is thinking about selling? Because this one's going to go and we're going to have a bunch of buyers left over. So you can piggyback that way too.
Yeah, 100%.
So now you're doing the right marketing for your open house. It's synergistic. And you're going to do an open house on top of that. Like, this is how I stack them for my agents in my program. I'm forcing them to stack this shit. Like, you're going to go do things anyway. Line that shit up so you're like stacking the deck in your favor as much as possible.
Yeah. So interesting. So going back to the metrics, that makes total sense, by the way. Like, that's crazy. That's interesting. So speaking of the metrics, if we go with that 50, so every single weekend, I'm basically having 30 conversations. Is there more metrics to keep track of? Like, is there more like, so say I now went with that messaging of, okay, wait, so sorry, let's take a step back. So let's go back into this hypothetical situation, knocking 50 doors, 30 conversations. Of the 30, I'm not getting any leads. Like, man, the month that I've been doing it, I had 2 people tell me that they were like considering it. Yeah. But I mean, it didn't really go anywhere.
Dude, there's a million more metrics. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your follow-up? Did you do
any? Okay. So,
you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. Like, okay, cool. Yeah. They told you they were thinking about it. What'd you do with that?
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of new agents are going to be like, well, what do I do with it? Right. And so this is where it's going to be a challenge for them. And it's like, well, most people are thinking about selling their home. One of the drivers of that, or at least something that's really heavily weighted, is, well, what the hell is this place worth in this market? So someone thinking about it, even if someone told me they're thinking about it this time next year, hey, perfect. For anyone that I know who's thinking about selling their home, one of the most important things that I can help them with is just understanding what their current value is, and then start to watch the trends of market value. So that way they can be crystal clear of exactly what they can expect when the timing lines up for them to sell their home. So I'm infusing myself into their process right there, right? Like, shit. All right. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to come back and give you a proper home valuation. From there, I'm going to set you up on something where we get to watch the trends of your home value together. And this is where I start to infuse language of very assumptive closing, right? And now we're working together because I fucking said we are. So this is like a way to do it. So that like, for example, and there's still like 50 other things there.
Yeah.
You know?
And so let me ask this, like, so like with that approach that you told me of home just closed, 4 offers, I'm coming to you, homeowner. If you've thought about it, then assume the best case scenario. What comes out of that? Like, okay, so like you not only get a lead and you continue the conversation. Well, what I like to do for the homeowners that were considering it, we have these 3 buyers, and I have, I do this all the time. So I'm constantly talking to more buyers that are looking to move into the neighborhood. One thing that I may think that, one thing that definitely I know helps out a lot of homeowners, past clients of mine. I mean, kind of like sell it a little bit as a new agent. Really don't have past clients, but for our
the
team,
power of
yeah,
yeah.
One thing that we do is we set up the homeowners on this. You can call it something fancy. What's my home worth? Or this equity. Always know how much equity you have in your home. Do you have any system set up like that?
Sure,
No.
KB Coral do it
Okay.
for us. Oh, I see. I'm sorry.
Yeah, for them. Yeah, sorry, for the seller. Yeah. If not, would you? If not, so like I'm coming out of the script now. So like asking you, what information would you get from that person if they said, "Yeah, cool, let's do it"?
I don't need much. I have their address, maybe their
Oh,
first
so
name,
address,
and then
first name.
email. But remember, and this is where a lot of agents go sideways, appointment. I'm not going to do a home value on the spot.
Oh, okay. So
like, this is what I can do for you. When can I come and do a proper home valuation?
Oh, nice.
I don't want to just barge into your house right now, but when would be good, like for you and the family, for me to come by for 10-15 minutes so I can give you a highly accurate value of your home now, which from there we can start watching the trends.
So now, okay. So, and I'm assuming, so this is what I'm assuming. So all I'm doing is breaking down the metrics at each stage for door knocking until you get to transaction. So like, tell me if this is correct or not. So you have doors knocked. Okay. So you have 50 doors knocked. You have
30 conversations or
30 conversations. I'm assuming a lead is defined as somebody who said they may be interested in selling in the future, but they were not open to the appointment, but I got their information.
Sure.
Is that a lead?
Yeah, sure. Well, absolutely. Yeah. Someone expressed some level of transactional interest. And just so you know, Cameron, I do what I said because I don't want them to feel like I expect to walk in their house. You'd be surprised how often, if people are down for it, they'd be like, "Well, come in now." Like, fuck it, let's go.
Yeah, 100%. And so would you, if somebody said come in now, would you count that as an appointment?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And then when you're done with every appointment, what's the number one thing that you walk away with? The next appointment.
Oh, yes. Okay, perfect.
So I have an appointment to go and look at their home, build rapport with them. And then I'm like, okay, so now that I'm really clear on the features of your home, I want to go analyze my data so I can give you a highly accurate valuation of your property now that I have experience of what all the features are. When can I come back so we can go through that together, or I can review it with you? So you're always looking for next appointment. That's always the case.
Yes. If you were smart, you'd have your iPad.
Totally. Or not. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe. And I say that because how good is the agent in terms of navigation? If they don't look badass doing it, don't do it in front of them. If you do look gangster, fuck yeah, you do that, because they're going to be like, damn, this person's on their shit.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, perfect. So appointments, then obviously the last metric of this is listing, and then listing to close transaction. Okay, so nice. So those are all of the, I would say, listing. So I would say those are all of the, let's call them performance metrics for door knocking.
Yeah, like milestones or something.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Appointments, listings, and then close transactions. Transactions from door knocking.
I still
Okay,
think
cool.
there's a lot in there, but I think as far as like stripping it down, that's really solid.
Speaker. Okay, microphone. Yeah. So for door knocking, everything that we just went through, how many other marketing tactics could you do that with? Can you go through that same thought process and diagnostic with cold calling?
So I'm not typically a cold caller, so I would say probably not. But if
Mm,
it was your database, your sphere of influence, and like getting referrals, absolutely. If it was open houses, I'd have 1,000 more. If it was open houses,
mm.
I'm trying to think of some of the others because those are my top three when it comes to my program, so they're top of mind for me.
And I
Yeah,
think
if you
that's
think of others,
perfect.
then absolutely, yeah,
All
for sure.
yeah, all dude. Because so this is interesting. So like what you just went through was a diagnostic of
Mhm.
all of the problems that a real estate agent could potentially run into while door knocking. And these one of the results of them running into this problem consistently and not being able to figure it out is them stopping and
Yes.
thinking that it doesn't work.
Well, it's funny because you
And
said they could be facing one of these problems, and when you said the end result is like they're not getting leads, and for me, the end result is all three of them are going to say, "Yeah, door knocking doesn't work," but they're very different
yes.
problems, and it's like, no, it just doesn't work. It's like, no, that's the
Yeah.
baby out with the bathwater.